Welcome to the Training Room, brought to you by Lionel University. This is the podcast for us, the fitness professionals. Joining me, as always, is my fantastic co-host, Dr. Aaron Nitschke. Dr. Aaron, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm really good. And we're doing something a little bit different today. We refer to our podcast episodes as training sessions. This is going to be a HIIT session. So HIIT traditionally in the fitness world means high intensity interval training. So like short bursts of a lot of effort, I guess. In this case, maybe not so high on the effort, but it is going to be a short burst of information. And by the way, by HIIT in this context, I'm saying, or I'm calling it, oh shoot, I already forgot. Insight, I'll come up with it at the end. I forgot it already. It is something pretty cool. But what we want to do is be able to present to you little tidbits of information relevant to the world of fitness. And sometimes we want to break it down to the basics. And there's nothing more basic than the basic principles of exercise science and the principles of exercise programming. Today we're going to talk about progressive overload. What is it really? It's something that we hear about a lot. And just to preface this, again, principles, they're not up to us. It's not up to me. It's not up to Aaron. It's just how the world works. And I think in the case of exercise science, sometimes we forget the basics because there's so many cool things out there. And we want to make sure that we understand the basics as best we can. So let's start with progressive overload. Dr. Aaron, what is it?
It's really just boils down to the simple practice of just gradually increasing demands on the body to provide the body a greater stimulus than last time. And it doesn't have to be doubling your weights. That's not the only way to progressively overload, but it's just giving the body a slightly bigger challenge than it faced the last time and doing that consistently over time, over months, weeks, years, all of that.
Yeah. High impact insights for trainers. HIIT, high impact insights for trainers. Like Aaron was saying, progressive overload. It sounds like a lot, right? Progressive overload. It sounds like all this stuff, and oftentimes we think of it as just adding more weight to exercises, but it's really just adding more challenge or more stimulus or slightly more stress. I'm saying the same thing with all those different terms, but that's how they're often relayed to us. Just adding a little bit more than what you're used to. And if you think about it, if you expect change to happen, then you would have to do something different. And part of the doing something different is placing a little bit more stress or a different type of stress on the body in order to get something different to happen or a different outcome. Let's talk about some of the different stresses that you can increase other than weight. We all know you can add more weight to an exercise and make it harder, but what are some of the other things that we can do to add a little bit more stress or stimulus to the body?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it does not have to mean doubling weight. It doesn't even have to come down to increasing weight. It can be messing with the number of reps that you do,
Mm-hmm.
or it can be changing the tempo. It can be reducing the rest between sets. It can be changing the complexity of an exercise so that it doesn't look the same as it did the week before. It does not have to just be let's add 5 pounds or let's add 10 pounds. It can be changing the angle of an exercise. It could be using a different implement for the exercise. There are a number of ways to progressively overload any given exercise just by tweaking one variable at a time.
Yeah. One of those including even range of motion, right? Like
Yep.
sometimes when we're showing exercises, if you're in a group of 1,000 trainers and you said, show me a lunge, everyone gets down into this 90-90 position that a
Right.
lot of their clients cannot attain. So then sometimes the thought is, I guess my client doesn't do lunges, but that's not true. There's a version of that where you're doing a reduced range of motion. And then over time, you build up a little bit more range of motion
Yeah.
progressively, right? You test yourself just a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more until you have that additional range of motion. So like Dr. Aaron said, there's all these different types of stresses that we can increase. And then progressively over time, we add a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And then you get to the point where you've got a whole different level of capability than what you started with because you slowly but surely added more to what you can do. Why does this matter, by the way, Dr. Aaron? Why does it matter that we understand this principle of progressive overload?
It's foundational. It's underneath every result that anyone has ever gotten.
Right.
So, strength gains, muscle growth, improvements in cardiorespiratory fitness, all of this traces back to the way that you manipulate the stimulus on the body. Because you can have the best diet, you can have the best sleep, and whatever supplements you're taking. But if you're not intentionally progressively challenging the body, you're really what you're doing is maintaining. So, it really is a foundational principle that does lead to those incremental improvements over time.
Absolutely. So if we're going to be a little bit more specific about it, you can certainly progress in exercise, right? And you can start doing more reps, and that would certainly be a progression.
Yes.
If the goal is to get stronger,
Mhm.
then you may have progressed the wrong thing if you start doing more and more reps, right? So we do
100%.
have to make sure that we're progressing the right things. And this is where sometimes trainers get it wrong. When we're trying to make things more difficult, oftentimes we'll add more weight, right?
Yes. Yes.
But if the goal is not necessarily to get stronger, then we're progressing the variable that doesn't really need the progressing, at least not so much and not yet anyway. So when we're progressing things, we shouldn't just be randomly progressing any variable in order to make an exercise harder. By the way, I feel like I see this every time I go to the gym. So please do take note of that. It's not just making the exercise harder, it's making it specifically harder
Yes.
to challenge a specific outcome that you're going towards, like strength, like endurance, better range of motion, etc. You want to progress the thing that challenges that aspect of a person's physical capability. So that's the aspect that they actually make improvement on, right?
100%. Yeah, I see that same mistake as just like random progression or thinking that it's progression, but it's not being done with intentionality. It's all just do whatever feels right at the time with no tracking, no plan, no intentionality. And that's really not overload. That's just workout chaos. It's not really moving the needle towards a goal. And I think the other mistake I see is progressing too many things at once. Like
Yeah.
in science, we have this rule that you change one variable at a time, because then if you change all of these things at any one time together, then you don't actually know what has had the effect. You have to change one thing at a time.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Because also, if you progress a whole bunch of things, then, like you were alluding to, you're not sure what thing you progressed made the difference,
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
So when we're tracking things, and as a trainer, this is part of what we should be doing with our clients is tracking things. We want to track what we are progressing and then what impact it had. Because our hope is that they get better every time, but sometimes our clients get worse. And then we
True.
want to make sure we understand why. What actually caused them to backtrack? Was it the way that we programmed? Was it something else? Sometimes our clients don't do a good job of getting their sleep or eating right. So sometimes that's a part of it too. Back to where we started, progressive overload. It's a principle of exercise science. It's not up to us. This is just how things work. I think we appropriately described it as just adding a little bit more challenge to what you're already capable of in order to hopefully make the adaptation of stepping up to that challenge. I think where we get it wrong is not challenging the right thing. So know your client's goals. If their goal is to get stronger, then we have to put them in a position where we're challenging their strength. You have to challenge someone's strength in order for their strength to get better. And then again, professionally, let's keep track of all this stuff so that we can ensure that we're actually moving toward their goals. Dr. Aaron, any last tidbits on this basic principle in our first HIIT session that our listeners can take away?
Yeah, I think just a couple of things that come to mind is like the session log, I think is one of the most underrated coaching tools. Look at it. It takes 2 minutes and it will tell you everything. And I think the second thing, again, is just hitting home on the fact that progression shouldn't be accidental. If you got stronger, you should know exactly why. And if you didn't, you should know exactly why not and be able to change those variables in a way that moves that forward, whatever the goal is. If it's strength, if it's hypertrophy, if it's endurance, whatever it is, know both sides of that.
Got it. Well, thanks, Dr. Aaron. Thanks, Lionel University. This was a HIIT session, a high impact insight for trainers. There's going to be more of these coming. Hopefully, this is useful. Again, this is one basic principle. There are others, and we'll be covering those at some point as well. Thanks again for joining us on the training room brought to you by Lionel University, and we'll see you for the next one.